right, so we are hightailing it out of Texas.
We said we weren't going to do many more videos like this where we just were talking heads, but I haven't finished editing this week's video because of the storm.
Yeah.
And,
so for those of you who may not know, surprising, some of you may not know, Texas experienced not one, but 2 winter storms this week.
Yeah.
And I will say that I think we were really prepared, as well prepared as Floridians can be. We were staying in Medina, Texas, right on Medina Lake at that Thousand Trails. Beautiful Thousand Trails.
Beautiful hills going in.
Yeah. Probably the prettiest part of Texas we've seen so far. But a lot of things happened. There's a lot of learning moments, I think, for us, good and bad. But at the end of the day, it was just a super stressful week. So Randy did not have a chance to edit the video. And then yesterday we celebrated my birthday for a little bit and then had a minor mishap. So
Yeah, we were siphoning water into the tank, and I guess because the water was down and it popped one of the fittings off, and then we can't get the fitting to stick back on, so we have not had the water.
yeah.
We didn't freeze a pipe, nothing like that. We had one pop off and don't have water. Took it to an RV dealership, and their plumber wasn't there, so they couldn't get it fixed.
Yeah. So we, I think we're debating on what to do. I think I've heard and seen a lot of people talk about trying to decide what the right thing to do. And I think if you have kids, it's like another layer on top of that of what's the right decision to keep your kids safe. Ooh, sorry for all the shaking. It's a bumpy road.
Yeah, and we also don't want to use our Texas's resources, so we are going to head away from the storm areas that are hit the hardest. That way we're not using their propane, their groceries, because everybody's still fighting to get all that stuff. We went to Sprouts the other day, and their freezers went down, so they lost all their meats and stuff.
So we figured it was best to get out of here, and then
stayed throughout all the storm.
Yeah, we stayed throughout the storm, but get out of here, not use their resources, kind of regroup a little bit for us. And then the other part of this is, it's funny, we met a wonderful family when we stayed in Austin, which Randy will shoot a video about, or put up a video about later.
Not the family, but
yeah, not the family, but when we were there, we were talking and learning more about how they travel in their RV, and some of the things that they've gotten to do and hikes they've gotten to do, which is really where we want to move our travels to as well. And plus, we were trying to plan our trip so that we could be close to each other, but then realizing we just didn't have the setup that we needed to be able to travel with them the way that we needed it to be, because I need a lot of electricity for work and things like that. So by regrouping, we're also going to upgrade our battery system, eventually get solar, and then really I think has a lot to do with, Randy's always been in the mindset of hey, we can move frequently, we can move quickly. And when we started this, I was like, no, I don't want to move. I move every 3 weeks. And he's like, well, how about every 2 weeks? And now I'm kind of on the boat of we've been at this for a while. I really actually don't mind moving as much as I thought I would, especially if it's short distances. And I really like moving during the middle of the week. As long as I know I have some place where I can get internet, which hasn't really been a problem except for during the storm, but that was because cell towers were down, which is a freak accident. But yeah, I really haven't had that much trouble. So
shaking there as it goes ahead. The snow took out part of the roads. So.
Yeah, so my mindset has changed, and it's funny just how when we were talking about it, there's a lot of things I think my mindset has changed that has opened up what our possibilities are going to be, and it excites me, and it's pushing me in directions that I never thought I'd be pushed in, but that's what this lifestyle is all about. And I don't want to come out at the end of this and say all we did, and I'm going to say this, there's nothing wrong with Thousand Trails, absolutely nothing. We've enjoyed our stays, and they've been wonderful campgrounds, but I don't want to get to the end of these, whatever time we're out on the road and say all we did was stay at Thousand Trails.
We'll do a video on Thousand Trails later, but we kind of have realized hey, they're not all of them are as nice as what we had in Florida.
in Virginia.
And they're like an hour drive away from everything a lot of times. So that stops you from being able to do stuff if you're an hour away.
Yeah, and so the goal now is going to be mostly focusing on getting us closer to towns, or closer, not necessarily the towns, but closer to things that we actually want to do, so that
different hikes and parks and so on. Like being able to stay out in national parks because we have the right batteries.
Yeah.
There's no power.
And that's just so that, like, when I get off of work, I can go, and it's not like an hour drive and it's dark by the time we get there. Or it's not like a really long drive so that when we're having to eat out every time we go. So there's just a lot of factors that, like, realizing, like, man, I want to do this right, and I don't want to come out of this experience regretting sticking to what I thought was needed, or being super rigid about how we live this lifestyle. So that's this week's video. It's, you know, being flexible, realizing
House moves, so move it.
Yeah, realizing you can change your mind. You can, maybe you're doing them more frequent stops and now you want to slow down, like whatever it may be. Like, don't pigeonhole yourself into this idea of what camping should be, and really treat it like the once in a lifetime opportunity that it truly is.
Even if there's a really long opportunity.
Yeah.
You can take it as long as you want.
But yeah, so that's my recommendation. But I hope this video was helpful. We appreciate you bearing with us this week as we are being extremely flexible ourselves, and we will continue to see you on this adventure.